The Bliss Business Podcast, the show about empathy, connection, and consciousness in business. Today's episode is brought to you by Zero Company, your paid search, social media, and programmatic ad experts.
Welcome to the show. This is our new series, Scaling with Purpose. I'm Steven Sakach here with Tullio, Siragusa.
Very excited to start our new series today.
So today we're diving into the first episode of the series, which is what is purpose and why it matters in business. And let's just get started, Tullio. We're trying to do this in like 10 minutes or so you can have a nice bite-sized podcast wherever you're at. So
it's faster than waiting at Starbucks for a coffee.
You can listen to it while. So purpose of the word, we hear often in business world these days, which is great. But what does it actually mean, and why is it so important to modern organizations? So in today's episodes, we're going to unpack these questions and set the stage for the rest of this series, where we'll explore practical ways to embed this purpose into every part of your business. So let's begin with a simple definition. Richard Lader, he's a leading voice on purpose. He describes it as the deepest dimension within us, our core reason for being. In a business context, purpose goes beyond traditional mission and vision statements. So you might be thinking, oh, kind of like a mission statement. No, this is a little bit different. It's not just about what we do or how we do it. It's about the why we exist as an organization in the first place. And I do think when people hear of a purpose-driven business, they think of a business maybe that is tied to a charity or a cause, like the environment, for example. And maybe that stops them from, pursuing it a little bit further because they don't have that charity or cause. But it can be like that, but it doesn't have to. So a restaurant's purpose can be to involve bringing families together and to connect over a healthy meal or something like that, which is, not necessarily like a charity. So it doesn't have to be that charity or cause that I think a lot of people kind of got familiar with when thinking about purpose-driven businesses. So these types of businesses, their core reason for being is to guide decision-making, shape culture, and drive long-term growth. It's about making an impact that goes beyond profits. Contribute positively to society, your employees, your customers, all stakeholders in business. We talk about this a lot in Conscious Capitalism. The book, The Power of Purpose by Lader, it explains that when companies define their true purpose, they unlock greater levels of meaning, motivation, and fulfillment for their people. But why does this matter in today's business environment? By the time we're done with this series, we will have covered a lot, and we'll have a lot of data backing the importance of finding your higher purpose and optimizing around it. Tullio, let's get to what are some key reasons why purpose is critical for modern organizations.
Absolutely. And as always, we don't just give the value from a human standpoint, that being important. We always provide data, the data that's backing the purpose, the reason behind why this is important. So, for example, first of all, purpose helps differentiate a brand, especially in a crowded marketplace where products and services often feel interchangeable. It feels very much like it's another company that has the same thing, just a different color, so to speak. So having an authentic and clear purpose can set a brand apart, making it more memorable, and customers will connect to the desire for just for that, not just to have a transaction, but to feel good about the transaction they're made, because we're all ultimately looking for connection. So, and in fact, here's some interesting stats. A study by Deloitte said that companies with a strong sense of purpose are 30% more likely to innovate successfully. And so it's not just a nice to have, it's really a strategic advantage. The other thing it does is it really engages the employees. And we've talked about this before, where people need to have a feeling that they belong to something greater than themselves. What they're doing has meaning. They have the ability to make an impact, and they have the ability to grow. So when a company connects to a purpose, it motivates employees with a higher level of satisfaction. In fact, research shows that 73% of employees who work at purpose-driven companies feel more engaged in their work compared to just 23% at companies that don't prioritize purpose. So all those companies that historically in the past few years have complained about 80% disengagement, these stats support those numbers, so you're likely to have disengaged employees if you don't have a purpose-driven type of business. So that's an important part of attracting and retaining the best talent. And then lastly, purpose inspires resilience, right? When things get difficult, when the markets change and you have to pivot, the drive to continue to fulfill a purpose you've committed to is much stronger in everyone involved than just turning the corner, so to speak. You'll often hear a company turning the corner financially. Well, that's nice and that's good and that's important. But with purpose, it's not just about turning the corner. It's about following through on a commitment. It's got a deeper level of organizational alignment that takes place because people are working with intentionality, not just about turning the corner. So it's a very powerful and strategically important thing for organizations to adopt a purpose that gives meaning to what people are doing and what they're doing in the marketplace.
Yeah, and I think we saw even some of this during the pandemic where customers understood their purpose really well, were willing to try and do what they could to help save certain businesses. There's always the story too of when Whole Foods started out. I think they were in Austin and they got flooded out, and they're just like, oh no, this is a disaster. But the whole community kind of came together, because they understood their purpose, and the community helped put them back together. So when you speak about resilience too, it's not just like the internal resilience. It can be all your stakeholders kind of feel that in a way. So it's definitely when you're able to get that purpose across, it can really help in a lot of different ways. So how do you start embedding purpose into your business? So first, I think most companies, you need some help in defining the higher purpose. So how do you do that? Here are a few questions to consider. One, why does your organization exist beyond making money? The key question there is why, I think. Second question might be, what impact do you want to make in the world? And then how do your values align with your purpose? Are they reflected in your everyday operations? I think if you focus on those three kind of questions, you'll get closer to what your higher purpose might be. If you are having problems with finding your higher purpose, we've built a tool at aicmo.io. Get it on our waiting list, or this podcast will be embedded in the actual software somewhere. So you might already be in there when you're hearing this. But
I wanted to just quickly highlight that first one you mentioned, Stephen, because I think it's so important. When you say, why does your organization exist beyond making money? I would almost offer a context shift to think of it this way. What purpose is your organization fulfilling that it deserves to make money for it? When you start to think about what impact are we having on the world that deserves us making a lot of money for it, it's a mindset, it's a context shift that's very different, that makes you think about how you create real value, sustainable value, and that deserves to be rewarded, that sustainable value. And so if companies started thinking about it that way, then they would begin to realize that the way to make money is actually to have purpose, because there's actually stats that show those who do better financially.
Yeah, it's true. And a lot of that purpose, it's already there within your business. You just aren't realizing how to articulate that. And so, as I was mentioning, we have a tool in AICMO where it helps you figure out what your purpose could be. You answer a series of questions, and it comes up and brings back a whole range of possible purpose statements for you, taking a few different approaches to this. And then from there, you can then embed this into different parts of your business. So it goes through some of this, asking you some, I don't know how many questions we may ask, 10 questions or so. And it also helps you answer those questions too, because you could spend an hour thinking about it, or you could spend 5 minutes using the tool with its prompts to help you answer some of the questions. But it's really kind of where you got to start, is trying to figure out how to define your purpose. And just because it may be difficult for you to articulate it, that's why we wanted to put together something that can help you get over this one rather large obstacle, I think, for most people.
I think one of the nice thing about that tool too is if you've struggled to define your brand because you're in a crowded marketplace, having an understanding or having a tool that gives you a purpose behind what your brand is doing, because it's very surprising when you go through it. You're like, oh, that's what we do. That's kind of cool. It can actually help you a lot in terms of differentiating yourself as a brand. So check it out.
Check it out. All right. That's it for this first episode in this series. Thank you for joining us on Scaling with Purpose. I hope this helped kind of clarify a little bit about what purpose is and why it's so crucial to business today. In the next Scaling with Purpose episode, we will dive into the differences between purpose and mission, and why understanding this distinction can make a world of difference for your organization's strategy. If you found today's episode insightful, be sure to subscribe to the show and share it with your network. Together, we can build love into scalable systems. We will see you next time on the next Bliss Business Podcast.